Okay, number 7, implement function a to I. The function takes a string as argument and converts it to an integer and returns it. Alright, so there'll be a bunch of different conditions in which we'll be looking at here. We might have a string that is just simply a string of numbers in which we would just return that. And then we could have a negative sign with some numbers, and then we would want to be able to return the negative value to that. And then if you have, say you have some spaces and then some characters and more numbers, you would just turn, if we come across any characters, then we would just stop the function, and then therefore we would just return this, and then these would get left behind. And maybe you might also have like a space in there in which you would just return that as the integer. Alright, so here is my string. We have a negative 1, 3, 4. And so we're going to initialize I to 0, which is at this negative sign here. And then we'll have a variable of res, which will initialize to 0, and sign, which will be 1. And then I've got a while loop, so as long as I is less than the length of the string, if we come across any spaces, all we're going to do is iterate I over. And then I have an if string at I equals negative, and in this case that is where we're at, sign equals -1, and we will increase I, so sign is now -1, and then we'll move I over. And then for the rest of this, we're just going to be going through, we'll be checking to make sure that we are at a digit at any point where I equals, and if we come across a non-digit character, then we'll just return -1. But otherwise, we will be updating our res variable, so res will equal res equals res times 10 plus the character at I, so we have 1. And so then 0 times 10 is 0 plus 1, so we get 1. And then we move I down. And so now we'll have res equals 1 times 10 plus 3, which is where we're at. And so 1 times 10 is 10 plus 3 equals 13. And then we'll move I down. And so now res will be 13 times 10 plus 4. So we get 130 plus 4 equals 134. And so now we've gone down the length of the string. So we return sign times res. So we have our sign is -1 times res is 134, and the result we get is -134. And we can see that that equals what we get, and so the time complexity is O of n, and we're not using any additional space, so the space is O of 1.